Trojan family, what's up? Happy Monday. Welcome to the USC LAFB show. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. This is the LAFB Network. Thank you, as always, for making this show a part of your day. Let's do your daily recruiting update. It is time to turn the page. You know, there is still a chance, as I've said, that USC could add maybe a diamond-in-the-rough player before the February signing day to this 2026 class. We saw them do that twice last year with AJ Tuateli and Jaden Ramos. So, you know, not totally shutting the door on that potentially happening. But for the most part, it is this class, this historic 2026 class is in the books. Stamp it, the number one recruiting class in the nation, 35 total commits. And now we turn our sights to the 27 class. No commitments yet. We know many are going to be coming kind of once the new year begins. I think a lot of... I've said before that USC is kind of telling players to wait. They could have actually had probably some commitments through the fall or even before the season started. But with their no visit policy, it was more of a, hey, if you're not 100% sure, because we don't do visits here once you're committed. So, you know, do the thing, enjoy the process. You know we want you. Once you commit, let's lock it in. So that's one. Two, I think there's a lot of players that are kind of waiting to the new year because, you know, after the some of these all-star games, you know, the All-American Bowl and Polynesian Bowl and all these other ones that they're going to announce kind of after those. And then finally, just with the new calendar a little bit, with the new transfer portal window, just the one portal window happening, you know, January 2nd to the 16th and whatnot, a lot of teams, USC included, is really figuring out their entire roster construction heading into the new year. And so they'll see what kind of slots they have available. You know, we know it's going to be in that 15 to 20 range for the 2027 class. So, Rivals just put out an article. We've been talking about this guy for a while as being one of the top targets for USC, but Adam Gorney of Rivals spoke with four-star cornerback Aaryn Washington of Mater Dei. And as of now, he says he is down to two schools, University of Georgia and the University of Southern California. So looking pretty good that if USC wants to try to close this out with Aaryn Washington, they could certainly be the team that does it. Now, Georgia isn't going away, and Georgia obviously is a good sell for cornerbacks. You know, we know their cornerback coach well, Dante Williams. For all of the, I think during his time here at USC, some of the criticism of cornerback development, again, this is what's kind of hard about looking at individual coaches, especially position coaches, is like how much was that necessarily him in development? How much was it the overall, you know, head coach and Clay Helton and the culture and the practice style that was happening in terms of that development? You know, those are all different things. The guy can coach. The guy is a phenomenal recruiter. That was his biggest probably draw at USC, was being kind of the lead recruiter for USC. He has a ton of connections and a heartbeat in Southern California. So him going to Georgia was a huge thing for that program because they're able to keep their footprint here in LA. So Dante Williams is a tough one to beat. He's a tough out to beat. But obviously USC have their own ringer in, you know, Doug Belk's great, but Trevon Reed is kind of the ringer now for this cornerback room, and one that all of these young corners have just raved about with the relationship that they've built in this. And so saying that, so quote here from Gorney, talking specifically to Washington, he said, "The love they're showing me is making sure I get to the next level. That's the whole goal. They're making sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing here academically and on the field, taking care of me and my family and making sure I feel welcomed and feel at home. It is home. Kind of making a statement that I go there, I'm going to leave a stamp there, leave my name there, especially doing it for my own city." They put a lot of emphasis on that too. That's been the thing with the 26 class, and the thing with this coaching staff is, hey, put on for your city. Stay home. Let's make this thing great again here in LA. Speaking about Coach Reed, he says, "Reed is my guy. That's somebody I can call about anything, not even football. That's somebody I can talk to. That's my guy." And so obviously, Trevon Reed, I think, was a huge hire. We know what great he'd be in recruiting, and I think we're going to start seeing that development piece really kick in here with some of these young guys, with guys like Marcellus Williams and others already on the team, and then with some of these new up-and-coming guys getting in the program, especially all the ones that are going to join in January in the spring. What is it, 32 of the 35 enrolling in January, which is incredible. One little thing here in this interview. The final little quote from Washington says, "There's also the thing of getting a full college experience and to get different scenery, like with Georgia." And he mentioned before that how everything about LA is great, but all the distractions that LA does inhibit or render or have. And, we've seen this with other players that ultimately either are here and end up transferring, and everyone kind of freaks out about the program, the coaching staff. Sometimes it is like guys just need to change the scenery. And, even if you grew up here, the bright lights of LA are not for everyone. That's not saying anything negative, but you see guys like Sierra Wright, who was here, who not only like was in the LA bright lights, but literally was in Hollywood, like was in Space Jam, like took advantage, not in a bad way, of what LA has to offer, but that took away from his football experience. He ends up going to Nebraska, balls out. We see how good he clearly was and what USC saw in him, and was able to just go to Lincoln, Nebraska, where all he does is live, breathe football, and it worked out better for his career. So that sometimes is a real thing. That's not a negative, because LA is such a promising place for so many people, but it's just not for everyone. So I just thought that was a little interesting piece, because as much as it is putting on for your city, there is sometimes certain people that are just like, hey, I kind of want to just get away from all this and just be somewhere where all it is football. And I think within the USC program, obviously that's the case. But once you leave Howard Jones Field, once you leave the new beautiful facility, there's a lot in LA. Now, Athens, Georgia is not very far from Atlanta. Atlanta obviously is a huge metropolitan, one of the most kind of up-and-coming metro places in America. But still, Athens itself is a college town. So just a little tidbit there. I still think USC is the leader in this, and ultimately I think they can get it done. I think he is set to announce after the new year, January. A lot of these guys are announcing, like I said, after these all-star games. So I've talked about him before, but just reiterate, Aaryn Washington, the 9th overall ranked cornerback in this 2027 class. Per Rivals industry rankings, 4-star kid, 6 foot, 155. Obviously, will put on more weight, but a true good lockdown quarter, plays in the Trinity League at Mater Dei, so sees the best of the best in terms of receiving talent. So, this will be a good one. But right now, USC, Georgia, those are the two fighting for it, and we'll see if USC can get it across the finish line and get him done. Quick little tidbit I wanted to say, we've talked about Duve Williams, who I think all of us believe will be the first commit in this class for USC. He's even said that USC is waiting for me to be the first commit in this class. Scott Schrader, who's the one that I trust the most, and you all should too when it comes to USC specific recruiting. Obviously, he's not a national guy, but when it comes to USC, he is the one the most in the know, and he officially put in an expert prediction, I believe 2 days ago, for Duve Williams to ultimately commit to USC. There was other predictions that came in like months ago. It's been USC for a long time. But once he officially did put in his prediction, so feels like that is going to happen, barring anything crazy. Now, he's not going to announce anything this month. He's another one that I think will wait till after the kind of all-star games go in January and make his decision, not in a huge rush for all the reasons I listed out earlier, but certainly is good to go. So just a little bit about USC that he says USC is pushing really hard. Chad Bowden stays with me every day. Dre Brown, the assistants, every day. T. Reed, Trevon Reed, calling me every day, FaceTiming me, showing me his new twins. His wife loves me. Right, my relationship with T. Reed is amazing right now. Doug Belk doesn't even need to talk to me. He just lets T. Reed handle it. Doug says and stays in contact, but T. Reed is the guy for me right now. And when he's talking about what he loves about Trevon Reed, it's his character. He acts like me, energetic, loves to laugh and joke around, but when it's time to get serious, he locks in. That's what I like about him. So, Trevon Reed, expert recruiter. He's not on those top lists yet. Obviously, he came into the cycle late last year. Well, not late in the cycle, but late, joined in the spring or the early spring. And so he was heavily involved in this 26 class for sure. But now he gets kind of the full recruiting process for that and is taking over a lot of that responsibility for Doug Belk. So last thing I'll say, and we'll wrap up with this. When you look at the 27 class and it comes to defensive backs, I've been saying it's probably going to be 4. We're looking at probably 2 corners, probably 2 safeties. And as I've said also, I see them more as defensive backs. Guys can be interchangeable. You could see 3 corners, 1 safety, and we'll see if they wiggle around. But they'll probably be a little bit more intentional in this one. I think the 26 class is really interchangeable when you look at the 6 defensive backs. I think your Madden Riordan and is probably a pretty clear safety, and Joshua Holland probably a pretty clear safety. And then the other 4 corners are likely corners, but you could see one of those guys end up shifting. I think they'll be a little bit more intentional with 27 of pretty clear corners and safeties, but still defensive backs. So if you can get Duve Williams and Aaryn Washington, that's likely your 2 corners, right? And then Honor Faaleve Johnson, the number 1 safety, who's been predicted to USC, trending that way. If they can close that out, which would be a huge win, Southern Cal kid, number 1 in the class, that's your 1 safety. And then you're likely, my opinion, and many others in the industry, Gavin Williams out of Damien could be that other safety, and that would bring your 4. Now, Danny Lang, the other Mater Dei corner, is a guy that USC has heavily recruited and heavily gone after. So this may come down to just which corner ultimately commits first. If he ends up wanting USC more than Aaryn Washington does, because I don't know if they'll take 5 unless, again, they decide to take Washington, Lang, and Williams, and then Faaleve Johnson, and don't take Gavin Williams, and they just take the 3 corners, and maybe they can see them as interchangeable. We'll see as this class begins getting commitments how they can reshape that, but that's kind of how I see it right now, is kind of those 4 the key targets, and then we'll see Danny Lang what happens, unless he were to say, hey, I want to commit now and get my spot. And it's good to see USC doing that, building that to make it to where, not that they've been like this, I don't think, but not that they're having to really, I don't want to say this wrong, definitely not, they've not had to beg guys by any means, whatever the national and opposing fan base thinks. That's not the case. It's still USC. But there's been a lot of competition and okay, how do we position ourselves ahead of this school? Whereas they might, for this class, be hey, we got 4 spots. If you want it, you better come get it. We're only going to chase you so far. And you know what we have to offer. Here's the NIL offer. Here's the development piece. Here's all the after stuff, all the school stuff. But we got 4 spots. So if you want it, come get it, or else someone's taking it from you. It's a good position to be in moving forward. So anyway, there's your recruiting update. Every time I do these, I'm like, we'll get on for 6 minutes or so, and they end up doing 10 plus. I just, get fired up about this, and I'm loving covering this recruiting. So I'm loving talking to all you guys. Even though I'm talking to a camera, I feel like we're starting to connect more. I'm loving all the comments. Keep the comments coming. How do you feel about these guys I've listed? Do you feel good about 4 potential spots being in the secondary? Which ones do you prefer out of the kind of 5? If one's an odd man out, where do you see that? Drop those comments, trying to respond to all you guys. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. We certainly appreciate it. Become a member of the channel. If you want to have an even greater impact, you get discounts on merch, plus some other opportunities that we will be offering here in the new year. Fired up. Appreciate you guys, as always. Fight on. Hey, Trojan family, thank you so much for hanging out and watching the USC LAFB show. Before you go, let me tell you quickly about our friends over at Sleeper. Go right now, download the Sleeper app. It's the #1 sports app, not just for season-long fantasy, but they've got live pickers, they've got live stat updates, they've got a chat you can chat with other users, plus the daily pick'em, which is a blast, or daily fantasy, whatever you want to call it. You go and pick 2 to 8 players across any sports. If you're talking USC, go choose Jade Mayav in his next matchup. Pick more or less passing yards, more or less touchdowns. You stack those, and you can win real money. When you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code USC LAFB. You're going to get a match deposit up to $100. Put in $100, you get $100 free to play with from Sleeper. Put in $10, they'll match you that $10. So now you're sitting at $20 to play with. But also right now, for any new users, no deposit required. You get $20 free entry. You can stack both. You can get the $20 for free. Go make a deposit. Use USC LAFB. And now you've got a bunch of free money to play with right there on the Sleeper app. Check it out, Trojan family. And when you do, tell them the guys at the USC LAFB sent you.
If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.